Poetry Center, bringing poetry to Paterson since 1980 at Passaic County Community College.
This is Maria Mazziotti-Gillen from the Poetry Center in Paterson, New Jersey, and I'm very happy to welcome you to our reading today with these fine poets. We are going to be hearing from the winner and the finalists for the Paterson Poetry Book Award, which is probably about 25 years old at this point. I could be wrong. My sense of time is very bad, but anyway, it's a long time that we've been doing this. And I'm very pleased to have these wonderful with us. I have to say that, first of all, the program would not be possible without Sue Bailick and Smita Desai, who do all the technical parts of getting ready for the program and sending out notices and all the rest of that stuff. And it's really impossible to do it without such organized and competent people. I also want to say that the Poetry Center is supported by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, as well as by individual donations and legacies from people. And it's also funded by Passaic County Community College. And the president of the college, Dr. Steve Rose, has been enormously supportive of all these programs that we do. And we couldn't possibly do any of it without his support and without the school support, because they provide all the desks and the security guards and the janitors and all the rest of it. So, and we have a beautiful building, I must say. I spent 11 years behind some bookshelves in the library, and then we get moved to this wonderful old building. So I'm really thrilled to have a place that's so beautiful in which to hold poetry readings and workshops. Anyway, today I'm going to start with one of the finalists, Carrie Connors, who was originally from West Virginia, and she lives in Queens, New York, and is a professor of English at LaGuardia Community College, CUNY. Her book, Luscious Struggle, was published by Brickhouse Books and is a 2020 Paterson Poetry Prize finalist. Her poetry has appeared in Quiddity, Little Pocsen Review, Kestrel Rhino, and the Monarch Review, among other publications. She's also a poetry reader for Epiphany. Let's welcome Carrie Connors.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you for hosting this, and thanks to the Poetry Center for bringing us together today. It's really such an honor, and it's an honor to be included in this list of poets. I'm still pinching myself about the fact that my book was listed among these amazing, beautiful books. So thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start with a poem called Sex Ed. After my mom declared, "You're just showing off," when I asked at 12 years old if my bras had shrunk in the dryer, I started going lingerie shopping with my former babysitter. On break from college, she'd pick me up in the Banana, her decomposing Volkswagen Rabbit. One day the turn signal wand snapped off in her hand at a stop sign by the old Pastoria factory. And she'd drive us to the Stone and Thomas in Wheeling with my mom's credit card in my pocket. As our thighs fused to the black vinyl seats in the summer heat, she'd tell me about college parties with stolen nitrous tanks. This guy's dad's a dentist. A history professor she dated. His stomach is flat, not washboard, just smooth, so sexy. Raking a hand through her blonde hair, more Malibu than Moundsville, West Virginia, and I'd pretend to understand. We'd stop at a dive bar to get vodka cranberries and styrofoam to-go cups with bendy straws. Bartenders never questioning my age, half a foot taller than my chauffeur, before greeting the hairsprayed sales ladies with their frayed tape measures. She dared me to try on red satin or black lace, and we'd laugh in the fitting room, mock the sales lady's judgmental stares at her cutoffs with the hole in the ass, revealing a peek of her jockeys. And she pushed me to pick at least one that wasn't beige cotton. After, we'd visit her boyfriend, a mortician her parents didn't like, Sometimes at the funeral home while he was preparing a body for viewing, Metallica blaring from the radio, more often at his apartment where they'd pop open beers, kiss, try not to openly resent the girl, preventing them from doing more, while I read the liner notes of his record collection, always made more nervous by the charge between them than by the corpses, by the way he'd pick her up and spin her around so fast for too long, because I had never loved anything so hard in my short life that I needed to grab it, try to make it fly.
Lovely.
Thank you. So this next poem, there's a series in the book that focuses on a woman who has pica or geophagia, where you eat sort of non-food items. And this is one from that series. Drug, geophagia 2. At 2 a.m., she drives to the drugstore again, arguing with herself. The doctor instructed her to chew gum when the cravings come on. Eat a couple of Tums if it gets really bad. It's never enough. She just ends up with a ribboned foil antacid wrapper and a late night debate in Walgreens over what to purchase with chalk to make it seem urgent enough to warrant a nighttime drive. Construction paper for an imaginary child's last-minute school project. Chloroseptic and Sucrets for laryngitis, the chalk for writing on a lapboard. Sometimes if the parking lot is empty, she'll slip out the box top flap and choose a thin stick. She'll roll it over her lips to heighten the anticipation. On good nights, a few licks and nibbles will do. Nights like tonight, when her muscles twitch, she bites off half a stick at a time and chews, grinds it into a thick paste that coats the walls of her cheeks, sated until her saliva washes it away. Okay, so the next one is called The Joy of Sex, and it has an epigraph by E. Cummings. So I'll read that epigraph. I like my body when it is with your body. It is so quite new a thing. Killing time before a party, I open my friend's copy of The Joy of Sex while she showers and find an E. Cummings poem that my ex used to get me into bed. Despite fights and his wholesome northern accent, those words made me flush like they were unbuttoning my shirt. Maybe it's the scent of my friend's tea rose shower gel, but now it all seems too sweet, artificial as latex. Chalk it up to bitterness. It's been a while. But thumbing through the sketched characters with their unlimited flexibility, their ability to live upside down without risk of oxygen deficiency, the expert instructions of how to rub what and where that read like a car owner's manual, make me wonder how I ever fell in love with a poem, especially when Amanda's husband stares at Fox News for hours every night instead of watching her body unfold like an arched wave nearing the shore. And gym-obsessed Eileen has forgotten what the body is for. And I haven't been really kissed by a man in years, making me feel very young and very old all at once, like the first time at anything always does.
Wonderful.
Thank you. So this next one is a little out there. It's a little quirkier. I sometimes write about sort of non-human subjects, and this is one of those. It's called Night Visitor. A giant cactus knocked on my door with one of its spiny arms. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, I said. It begged me to use my shower, or at least to draw a bath and soak its veiny roots. But you'll drown, I said, and I can't be an accomplice to a suicide. It'll keep me up at night. But the bats keep nibbling at me, it cried, and I can't stand the pain of these open sores. They're pollinating, I said, making cactus children. I have children? It asked, and wept until it drowned on my welcome mat. Okay. So I'll just do 2 more. This one is called Namesake. When my fiance asked why I wasn't changing my name after our wedding, I told him how my grandmother met my grandfather when she was 17. He's stationed in Alabama, a drill sergeant overseeing 3 of his men as they dug a 6 by 6 by 6 foot hole in the red clay, a receptacle for the gum they were chewing while marching, before filling it up again. He whistled as she walked down the street carrying bread home from the Piggly Wiggly. When he asked her name, Ruby Pauline must have seemed out of line. After they married, she took a train north to West Virginia, where he got a job working in the steel mills. She coughed the air thick with coal dust from the mines, sweet soot out of the house every day. One night, when the smell of cheap whiskey greeted her at the door, he started calling her Pat. She never asked why he changed her name, but she learned to respond, though she took to wearing red, scarves, sundresses, growing rose bushes tall as a man with jewel red buds. Maybe he thought the name Ruby was too flashy, that it would attract too much attention from men in town. Maybe Pat was an old lover that married a richer man. Or after being scolded like a dog by bosses in the mill, he could have longed for his drill sergeant days when people answered to him no matter what he called them and became anyone he told them to be. Okay. And this will be the last one that I'll read. And it has a little bit of a longer title. So, Overheard in the Bathroom at the West Virginia Blues Fest. These goddamn aluminum fish bowls remind me of prison. Her voice, a rock-filled gizzard, makes me think I've seen and heard enough for the day. The man who dances like a rooster, shoulders jerk, chin juts, long dead arms swing. The other dancers give him a 3-foot clearance radius all day. The jeweler with dementia who used to sell bracelets he made from antique silverware and now can't remember his wife's name, playing the spoons on stage with a band of young Alabama boys. So good they all just shake their heads. Or the green pallid guitar virtuoso who's had some young man's liver inside him for just 4 months, talking about the car accident that took that kid's life so soon and allowed him to stand there, picking at strings, moaning out old sorrows so we could all feel a bit better by feeling bad together. And he's sorry that he doesn't have a song about it yet, but to be honest, he doesn't think he ever will, because some things are too rich to be translated into sound. Thank you all so much.
Wonderful. I'm sorry, I haven't quite figured out how to make the clapping actually sound like clapping, but that was wonderful. Now we're going to have poet and playwright Martin Jude Farawell. He's the author of Odd Boy, Sibling Rivalry Press, and Genesis, a sequence of poems from New Spirits Press. Odd Boy was a Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award nominee and a finalist for the Paterson Poetry Prize. His work has appeared in a wide range of journals and anthologies, and his plays have been performed off-Broadway and by regional, college, and community and international theaters from South Africa to Los Angeles. A graduate of New York University's creative writing program and a recipient of a New Jersey State Council on the Arts Writing Fellowship, he directs the Gerald R. Dodge Poetry Festival, which is an amazing festival. And if you haven't been to it, you must go. Let's welcome Martin Jude Farawell.
So thank you, Maria. I'm very happy to be here. And thanks, Susan and Smita, for your help. And great to see Vivian and Jericho and Matthew and Carrie and folks I've known personally, some of you, and some I've only heard of. So to repeat what Carrie said, as they say at the Oscars, it's just an honor to be nominated among this group of poets. And I'm thrilled to be here today. And my gown is by Carhartt, by the way. And anyway, something about the capacity for human beings to be horrifically cruel to each other, and their capacity to come back from that has haunted and fascinated me all my life. And we certainly live in a time that give us daily reminders of the potential for human cruelty and perseverance. So if there's any kind of theme in this reading, that's it today. I'm going to start with a couple of poems that are retelling of Old Testament stories of the first crimes, the first murders. This is "And Abraham Built an Altar." Everything had gone as he'd imagined over and over since that night the voice had asked him this. As always, the boy did not begrudge him anything, had not complained of the early awakening, the long trek, the high climb, had been quick to gather brambles, had chosen the stone and whet the knife, had never asked after the missing ram, sensitive to his old father's dread of senility. Now the morning coo of two dry sticks rubbing together, and the boy crouched over, patient for the flame, his back to his father, who tests and retests the hemp in his hands. He was the envy of all the other fathers who complained of surly and lazy sons. His boy was the beauty of all the boys the girls in the tribe dreamt of being his. How could the voice that had promised this son ask him this? Wasn't it possible this once it had erred, this once would forgive his doubt? But this was the voice that had promised him great flocks, promised him sweet wells, promised him king, promised him everything he now called his. He would kill the boy. But Cain was a tiller of the ground. When my brother mocked me, called me girl, sissy, fag, because I could not heave the axe, could not witness the heifer's beheading and not retch, even as he flicked drops from his blood-gloved hands at my hidden face. I did not stand, did not answer, but bent myself away, knowing he, firstborn, was first under our father's eye and first under his anger, and sorrowed that he turned toward me what he was too afraid to turn against our father. When my brother bullied me, clubbed to shards the pots I'd glazed and fired to carry water to the corn rows, even as he stomped the dry stalks down, taunting, no man would do such woman's chores. I stayed silent. I stayed my hand, knowing he'd mistaken our father's disinterest for a gentleness toward me, and had to punish someone for the gentleness he wanted. When he came at harvest with his spear, for the first time called me brother, and bid I walk with him into the fields, I knew one of us was to be sacrificed. I heard the earth cry out my name, scythed him down, plowed him to pieces, took his spear, and ran to tell our father I'd become the son he wanted. He did not embrace me. He swung his axe against me for the killing of his favorite. The blade just glanced my forehead. His wild swing made him stumble. And when he looked up at the blood mark that seeped across my features and saw I did not blench, he knew if he ever tried to strike me again, I would kill him, and said, "Go, go. I'll think of something to tell your mother." A Child's Tale. You do what you will to my body. My body is too little to stop you. I will myself away. While I'm gone, my body will make hair, muscle. When I want to come back, my body will not welcome me. So I should have maybe given a trigger warning if people are concerned or affected by images of violence against children especially. This next poem is Hands. My father did not teach me to make anything except myself, small as I was, smaller, did not guide my hands toward any making, except once, a carving knife at my wrists to make me handless. I learned from him the security of corners. My father never spoke about his childhood, except with his hands, with his father's hands, that made him do the child beggar's dance for mercy, to the time of words that sang him small, too small to ever be loved by anyone, even his sons, the sons he would make dance after anyone's love. I let no dance floor at my wedding, only a man with a slow guitar, and still whatever floor there was became dance floor, and only me cornered in my fear, not dancing. When the wedding was over, he hugged my wife, just drunk enough to tell her that he loved her, just loud enough for me to hear. My father, I wish I could go back and kiss your childhood and make it better. Kiss your child with the kindness of this woman kissing me. Or if not that, that the past could be something that only happens once. But the past keeps happening in my hands, no matter how I ball them up, as if the blows they held could be stilled, if I could hold them hard enough, or driven out into the walls, the doors I drive my hands into, or driven into me, better into my body than into my son's. I will have no sons made to dance by these hands I will cut off before they make anyone dance after anything. If I sing, I weep. If I sing joy, even sing joy, I weep. If I weep, if cries splatter from me, if I sputter snot and spit down my chin, my shirt, your shirt, if I shake and shake until you fear I'll shake apart, don't be afraid for me, don't be ashamed. I will not break from this, will not die, but from the lack of it, from the closing. And I will not close, will not hide, will not deny any more the child I was who could not cry out. And now that I can cry, I will sing, even if my song comes shoved out on the snot and spit I swallowed not to cry. I will sing my joy, that I will not hide this joy I sing for, even if singing I weep.
Thanks so much, Martin. That was wonderful, as always. And it had me crying, as I think it did a lot of people. Okay, our next reader is Connecticut State University Distinguished Professor Vivian Shipley. She teaches at Southern Connecticut State University. She was awarded the 2020-2021 Connecticut Office of the Arts Poetry Festival, won the 2020-2021 Poet Hut from the MacGuffin, and was the artist's choice for Rattle's October 2020 Expresses Challenge. Her 13th book, Hindsight 2020, is forthcoming in 2021 from Southern Louisiana University, LA Lit Press, nominated for Pulitzer Prize, and Archaeology of Days, Negative Capability Press, and was named the 2020-2021 Poetry Prize finalist and the 2020 Who's a Tarankin Book Prize for Poetry finalist. Her website is www.vivianshipley.net. Let's welcome Vivian Shipley.
I have to warn all of you, I had a very bad website experience. And so if you go onto vivianshipley.com, it's now a porn site. So
Oh, no.
Heavy duty one. It is truly. It's really quite disconcerting. And there you go. But it's Jericho, no. No. I've tried to keep this for my grandsons because I'm thinking like, oh my God, but they might like me better, but it's not me, I mean, obviously. But the first poem I'm going to read is entitled Cargo. It's from An Archaeology of Days. Before I do that, I'd like to say a special thank you to Jack Bedell, who's from Southern Louisiana University that Maria mentioned. He did the cover and did all the formatting for me. He's been a real sturdy friend for so many years, like Maria. Cargo also won the Steve Coet Poetry Prize, the 2018-19. That's from San Diego Arts and Literature Guild. And so I was very pleased that it was chosen for that prize. Cargo. A plover with a broken wing flops on the granite outcropping abutting my seawall. At my computer, I cannot avoid seeing it if I look out the window. I can fold the newspaper on slaughters in Syria, Myanmar, faces of children who can no longer recognize their unveiled mothers, blown into concrete barricades or wedged under car tires. To erase this bird, I must lose my view of Long Island Sound, my beach. The bird hops, stumbles, dragging feathers. Closing my blind, I blot out not only glare, but thought of the plover, like the truck driver in Laredo, South Texas, who slammed rear doors of his 18-wheeler on 73 illegal immigrants who had crossed the Rio Grande by raft to stash houses. Late July 2017, the trucker knew air conditioning did not work and the 4 vents were blocked. On the interstate, sun flash of semis, the cab cool. In the back, air was stale as a kiln, motion baked out of it. The king of country, George Strait's All My Exes Live in Texas, on the radio drowned out heels of hands, pounding like ball-peen hammers on the metal wall. No way to torch the doors open. Stopping at Walmart in San Antonio to relieve himself, the driver opened trailer doors to pitch black. Clobbered by light, bodies were birds that scattered like a pack of cards thrown up into air. One man lurched out, ran to a customer to beg for water. Too late to shut doors, the trucker feigned surprise at the cargo. 10 people dead, those too weak to stand did not leave. I opened the blind. My bird is gone. Then, like the human tide from Mexico, back over the wall of rock it comes. I can block out the sight, but now, like the trucker, I can't ignore its wing. What if the plover won't go away to die? I'd like to believe I have a heart, unlike the driver who closed the tractor trailer door. Drawn by the bird's cries, my dog leaps, straining to get on the beach. Knowing what he will do, I'm tempted. Should I open the gate? Now, you may be wondering, did she open the gate or not? Of course, a sweet grandmother who's almost 78 would have naturally opened the gate. But I didn't open the gate. Even I am not that bad, but this was not a good experience. This bird finally went someplace, but I didn't like it. The next poem is called Sourdough. All of us who've been isolated by COVID, many people are starting to bake and do all kinds of things, in particular with sourdough. I personally have never had a sourdough starter, never plan on having one. I've written about it, and that's about as close as it's going to get. I mean, it's like my life. I write about all kinds of stuff that I'm never going to do. So it's as close as I can get to ever baking sourdough. I've decided the best strategy in life is to quit cooking altogether. Carriac should be my motto. Sourdough. I just know I can be a good role model. Nothing can be as bad as the bullying in 7th grade. Not even this. Having my sourdough starter die. Resilient, I will not let it become a metaphor, a setback, sure, a part of the journey, but not a career-ending failure. In fact, with sourdough, I had deliberately invited tension into my life, believing as a human I needed stress as much as bread. Needing it, I take breaks like I do in weightlifting reps. A bit of fermented flour, a microbial jumble of bacteria and yeast. Sourdough is not only uplifting, but also gives anything baked a complex tang. No philodendron I can forget to water or a low-maintenance goldfish. Sourdough's health is a reflection of my maturity, ability to take responsibility. My dead starter could have been from, say, a rare bloom of mold, too much time forgotten on the kitchen counter in August, or what I feared, lethargy. Neglect, pure and simple neglect on my part. I see the starter's death as a chance to rethink my life goals and find what truly fulfills my spirit, not just my stomach. I swear, sourdough's demise will not be in vain. It will inspire me to get out of my comfort zone. Maybe not climb Mount Kilimanjaro or run a triathlon, but I might share my secret poetry journal at a slam. I will be an optimist. Sourdoughs are sturdy, can live long, untragic lives, passed from mother to child, and back again. Why, I know one in Brooklyn that celebrated his 60th birthday. I'll get a packet of dry sourdough starter, mix it up, feed once a week with flour, milk, let ferment overnight. But I will not fail to think ahead. I forget to reserve some airy mass for next week, and my high hopes might vanish. There will not be another batch of pancakes as thick and even as a layer of birthday cake to anticipate. I'll even give a part of my starter to everyone I know. Share, don't hoard will be my motto. It ensures survival. If I make rolls, dust with cinnamon sugar, no matter what happens between today and the days that lie ahead, something sweet will be waiting. And the last poem I'm going to read is from Archaeology, but I'd like to take an opportunity to promote a book that's just come out from in Connecticut called Waking Up to the Earth. And it's a book that is promoting saving our climate. And so it's published by Grayson Press. And I'd like to urge all of you, if you have opportunity, either buy it or encourage people to read it, because the poems in it are really very, very beautiful about preserving nature. My poem is a trite negative, but there you go. It's how I write, I guess. And it's called Trespassers at Morgan Point. We own a house that juts out into Long Island Sound, and we're forever having people come out there and do untoward things. So this is Trespassers in Morgan Point. Cautious as a stag leading does into a clearing, two fishermen looked toward the house, just checking. As if crossing a lawn they had newly seeded, their steps were shortened, rods held low. Heading for the black rocks, one holds the hand of his son, knowing full well that their zodiac is beached above high water on the pink granite. Not trying to claim they are lost, confused, or sorry, it's anger that simmers in their throats, idling like an outboard motor as I point to private property. A United jet takes off from Tweed, New Haven, censors bitch. No Rory Tory Paterson. These two won't teach the boy to tell a snowy egret from a white heron by an egret's black bill, black legs, and yellow feet. Busy popping claps off Rolling Rock, the father doesn't point to another egret, shuffling feet about in order to stir up shiners, a habit white herons don't have. Teaching his son to break bottles for sea glass, he calls a cormorant crow as it spreads wings like an eagle. We're all trespassers of some sort or another, but that does it. I dial East Haven police to demand protection. Then I gloat while snapper after snapper jumps as if drawn by a magnet into the cove. Badge or no badge, I know these two fishermen will resurface, the boy carrying beer. On good days or bad, they'll be back. If Riptide feathers a sound, it will be a sign to them, irrepressible as tide. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Vivian. Wonderful. And let's welcome Matthew Thorburn. And his latest book is The Grace of Distance, and it's a finalist for the Paterson Poetry Prize. He's the author of 6 previous collections of poetry, including the book-length poem, Dear Almost, honored with the Dascos Prize, subject to change. Winner of the new issue Poetry Prize and the chapbook, A Green River in Spring. His work has been recognized with the Winter Binner Fellowship from the Library of Congress. I think I've gotten so agoraphobic that I've forgotten how to speak from the Library of Congress, as well as fellowships from the Bronx and New Jersey Arts Councils. He works in corporate communications and lives near Princeton, New Jersey with his wife and son. Let's welcome Matthew Thorburn.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Maria and Smita and Susan for putting this together. It's great that we can still get together in spite of everything. And it's a real honor to be a finalist for this award and to be in such great company and to get to read with you all and hear you all today. So thank you so much. I think one of the silver linings in this otherwise, really challenging, horrible time has been all of these Zoom readings and online readings and live streams, and being able to hear people all over the country and all over the world and also be able to share our poems with them. That's been one thing that's really heartened me a lot in the last year, and I'm really thrilled to be here today. This is my book, The Grace of Distance. I'm going to read a couple of poems from it, and it's a collection of poems about all different kinds of distances. Distances between people and cultures, between places, between things like faith and doubt, between the present and the past, things like that. That was published in the fall of 2019, so not too long before distance took on a different meaning for me and for everybody. And so for me, some of these poems also have kind of a nostalgia to them because they're about, for me, what life was like and hopefully will be like again. But it feels like definitely like a different time to me. I want to read a couple of poems. These first 2 poems are set in New York City, where I used to, or you could say still work, but remotely. I haven't been in the city in about a year, well over a year now. So I wanted to read these 2 poems to kind of remember some of the great things about living in a city. This first poem was inspired by a fragrance called Manhattan. It was part of an anthology of poems about perfumes and fragrances, and we were each sent one to smell and experience and respond to however we wanted to. And I thought this smelled great, but it didn't smell like New York City to me at all. So this poem's title is a question. It's called "This is What the City Smells Like." No, give me the steam of pork dumplings, 10,000 made by hand each day on Mott Street. The cool marble of Grand Central, where 250,000 people catch a train. Shoe polish and subway ad glue, and a pale dusting from the rising sun of pizza dough spinning overhead. Mix for me the horsey funk of hansom cabs, yellow mustard on a hot knish, On again, off again rain, a dash of asphalt and taxi exhaust, the sawdust and cement dust of buildings going up or coming down. Give me a gust of hot bakery air, the sweet and sour tang of a rush hour train, newsprint and armpits, damp wool, baby powder, a hint of hope or disappointment, depending on the hour. For me, it's the dark tickle of luncheonette coffee. It's briny pickles plucked from a barrel and the gingery waft of a midtown sushi den. Give me 59th Street fountain spray, faint and cool on the breeze. From that 100-year-old fountain, homeless men sneeze and dip their toes in. And even a whiff of the glossy black bags piled high along 35th, trash shining and baking in the morning sun. But Corsican immortelle, gold saffron and sandalwood, notes of suede. Take a hike up Fifth Avenue and spritz some other guy with that. Anoint my neck and cheeks with espresso dust and the grease of this pig floating past, roasted red and glistening, shouldered high on a board by two skinny cooks bickering in Cantonese and pushing through the crowd on Canal Street. Let us sniff matzaripas, disco fries, decades of spilled beer behind the piano at the Vanguard, and the ghost of cigarette smoke in all the bars you could no longer smoke in. This city smells like milk crates full of foxed paperbacks for sale on the sidewalk, like the fishmonger in her gut-mapped apron, fish scales glittering on her wrists. It carries the zing of pickled herring. It smells like glazed donuts and nail polish, yellow curry, a stack of scratch-off tickets and a dirty penny, like bodega roses, kimchi, and fried rice, and the faraway ocean you can sometimes smell deep in downtown, if just for a moment you stand perfectly still. Thank you. This other poem, that's a sort of a New York poem. I guess maybe all the poems I'm reading today, these couple of poems are all New York poems, really. But this one was inspired by an exhibit a few years ago at MoMA of Henri Matisse's collages of painted and cut up paper, which I really love. And I'd seen a couple of them, here and there at different times, but to see all of them, so many of them together was really amazing. And particularly one that I didn't even know existed until I got there, but it's called The Swimming Pool. And it's one that he had made for his dining room where he was living at the time. And it was sort of this band of collage that went all the way around the room, kind of like above head level. And so they had created a little room in the gallery that was the dimensions of that room and hung this the way it was there. So you could just sort of stand there and turn around and just keep seeing it. It was really, really amazing and sort of magical to me. And I also learned from the wall signage, I think, that he was, pretty old and not in great health when he was doing these. So he would paint and cut, but he had assistants who would help him pin up these pieces. And he would sit there and say, move that one a little bit, or put this red one over there, turn that. And so as I was looking at these, they're amazing. But I kept thinking about these assistants and to be sort of doing that all day and taking this direction and okay, we're gonna move it again. I think it was here before, and getting, kind of maybe frustrated or tired, even though, you're helping this great person, but it's still probably pretty annoying after a while. So one of the assistants was named Lydia, and so her voice, or my imagining of her voice and maybe what she was thinking, kind of comes into this poem a little bit. And it's called Go Together, Come Apart. Because one day he told Lydia, I want to see divers, and because it was too sunny, it was too hot, because it was blazing at the pool there in Cannes, he said, I will make my own. Because for a day, a few days, perhaps a week, it did not matter. If he was old, he was ill. If he was 2 years from death, you can only count that backwards. Because he wanted to make color, because this ultramarine, snip out shapes, because with his scissors, pin them to his burlap-covered walls, or tell his assistant exactly how to, because a collage like a scroll unwinds, because all around four walls, his dining room. And so does not begin. And so does not end the way we must, because swimmers, divers, swells, and bright splashes. And imagine the thrill because, then irritation, fatigue, possibly anger because an insistent old man, because that comes with being Lydia, being his assistant, all day pinning and repinning and repinning. The scissored blue, the bright painted shapes upon the walls, above their heads, around this room. Because I do not even know what is this supposed to be. Because, she said, because a wave, an arm, some sort of fish. A little to the left, help me lift it, help me make it the way it was, he said. Because water, because light. I also want to say a thank you to Louisiana State University Press, who published this book and my previous book. And they're just really amazing people to work with, and I'm very lucky to get to work with them. I also want to put in a plug, if you would be interested in this book at all, they're also doing a really great thing, and have been for over a year now, which is that they're offering all their books on their website at 40% off. So you can get this one or any of their great poetry books or any of their other books. And they, I think, have said they're going to do this until, you know, we're all back out in the world. So I thought that was really nice. I'm just going to read two more poems. And this one is a little short poem. This is also a New York poem. This is dedicated to the poet Keith Taylor, and is about reading his book, one of his books on the subway one night going home from work. Watch Over Us. Keith, it seemed only right, reading your marginalia for a natural history on the hot subway home from work, to turn the page. The pages are loose, the book well thumbed, and find a mosquito poised at the top of the next one, delicate as a watch spring, its body a tiny, shiny transistor. I thought I'd smush it with my thumb, but then how did it get there? Where could it be headed, traveling uptown like me? Lord, watch over us all tonight on these journeys we may not even know we're taking. And then one last poem that's just also just a little short poem like that. This is called The Other Side. The Other Side. In the old ink and brush style of painting, the brush can't leave the paper until you're done, so that it's all one long line that turns and turns and loops back, taking its time. And sometimes standing here outside the door as snow filters across the blue-black sky, and I can hear you on the other side. I can't remember if I've only just arrived or it's time for me to go. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matthew. And now I'm really pleased to welcome Jericho Brown. Jericho is the recipient of a Whiting Writers Award and fellowships from the John Simon Guggenheim Foundation, the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Brown's first book, Please, won the American Book Award. His second book, The New Testament, won the Anseld Wolf Book Award and was named one of the best of the year by Library Journal, Cold Front, and the Academy of American Poets. He is also author of the collection, The Tradition, which was a finalist for the 2019 National Book Award and the winner of the 2020 Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. His poems have appeared in BuzzFeed, The Nation, The New York Times, The New Yorker, The New Republic, Time, and the Pushcart Prize for Anthology, and several volumes of the Best American Poetry Anthology. He's the Charles Howard Candler Professor of Creative Writing and the Director of the Creative Writing Program at Emory University in Atlanta. And he is an absolutely amazing, wonderful, heart-wrenching poet. Let's welcome Jericho Brown.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for you know this from me. and maybe everybody listening doesn't know this, I just love Maria Gillum. I just love her so much. And I'm so glad that she is on our team. And I really appreciate you and Susan and Smita for doing all the work that y'all do, not just for this event or this contest, but year round. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of these wonderful poets who read today, whose work I see all the time. And so it was really good to hear it coming out of your mouths. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Big thanks to Martin, who was over here trying to just break my heart.
Right.
Who also is a person I love and who I think is one of the people on this planet who keeps the poetry wheels turning for us all. Thank you so much. And thank you to Vivian Shipley, who I haven't seen in so long, and I'm glad I get to see her. Thank God for technology. Can y'all imagine if COVID would have hit in 1989? So I am so glad that we at least have this and that we can see each other. So I'm just going to read a few poems. Thank y'all so much. Prayer of the Backhanded. Not the palm, not the pear tree switch, not the broomstick, nor the closest extension cord, not his braided belt, but God, bless the back of my daddy's hand, which, holding nothing tightly against me, and not wrapped in leather, eliminated the air between itself and my cheek. Make full this dimpled cheek, unworthy of its unfisted print, and forgive my forgetting the love of a hand hungry for reflex, a hand that took no thought of its target, like hail from a blind sky, involuntary, fast, but brutal in its bruising. Father, I bear the bridge of what might have been a broken nose. I lift to you what was a busted lip. Bless the boy who believes his best beatings lack intention, the mark of the beast. Bring back to life the son who glories in the sin of immediacy, calling it love. God, save the man whose arm, like an angel's invisible wing, may fly backward in fury, whether or not his son stands near. Help me hold in place my blazing jaw as I think to say, excuse me.
Wonderful, Jericho.
Thank you. 4:30 in the morning. My mother grew morning glories that spilled onto the walkway toward her porch, because she was a woman with land who showed as much by giving it color. She told me I could have whatever I worked for. That means she was an American. But she'd say it was because she believed in God. I am ashamed of America and confounded by God. I thank God for my citizenship in spite of the timer set on my life to write these words. I love my mother. I love Black women who plant flowers as sheepish as their sons. By the time the blooms unfurl themselves for a few hours of light, the women who tend them are already at work. Bloom. I'll never know who started the lie that we are lazy, but I'd love to wake that bastard up at 4:30 in the morning, toss him in a truck, and drive him under God past every bus stop in America to see all those Black folk waiting to go work for whatever they want. A house? A boy to keep the lawn cut? Some color in the yard? My God, we leave things green.
Wonderful, amazing poem.
Labor. I spent what light Saturday sent sweating, and learned to cuss cutting grass for women kind enough to say they couldn't tell the damned difference between their mowed lawns and their vacuumed carpets just before handing over a $5 bill rolled tighter than a joint and asking me in to change a few light bulbs. I called those women old because they wouldn't move out of a chair without my help or walk without a hand at the base of their backs. I called them old, and they must have been. They're all dead now, dead and in the earth I once tended. The loneliest people have the earth to love, and not one friend their own age, only mothers to baby them and big sisters to boss them around. Women they want to please and pray for the chance to say please to. I don't do that kind of work anymore. My job is to look at the childhood I hated and say I once had something to do with my hands. And them, they said to say goodnight and not goodbye, unplugged the TV when it rained. They hid money in mattresses, so to sleep on decisions. Some of their children were not their children. Some of their parents had no birth dates. They could sweat a cold out of you. They'd wake without an alarm telling them to. Even the short ones reached certain shelves. Even the skinny cooked animals too quick to catch. And I don't care how ugly one of them arrived. That one got married to somebody fine. They fed families with change and wiped their kitchens clean. Then another century came. People like me forgot their names.
Mm.
Say thank you. Say I'm sorry. I don't know whose side you're on, but I am here for the people who work in grocery stores that glow in the morning and close down for deep cleaning at night, right up the street and in cities I mispronounce, in towns too tiny for my big black car to quit, and in every wide corner of Kansas where going to school means at least one field trip to a slaughterhouse. I want so little. Another leather-bound book, a gimlet with a lavender gin, bread so good when I taste it I can tell you how it's made. I'd like us to rethink what it is to be a nation. I'm in a mood about America today. I have PTSD about the Lord. God save the people who work in grocery stores. They know a bit of glamour is a lot of glamour. They know how much it costs for the eldest of us to eat. Save my loves and not my sentences. Before I see them, I draw a mole near my left dimple. Add flair to the smile they can't see behind my mask. I grin or lie, or maybe I wear the mouth of a beast. I eat wild animals, while some of us grow up knowing what gnocchi is. The people who work at the grocery don't care. They say, thank you. They say, sorry, we don't sell motor oil anymore. With a grief so thick you could touch it. Go on, touch it. It is early. It is late. They have washed their hands. They have washed their hands for you, and they take the bus home. Ganymede. A man trades his son for horses. That's the version I prefer. I like the safety of it. No one at fault. Everyone rewarded. God gets the boy. The boy becomes immortal. His father rides until grief sounds as good as the gallop of an animal born to carry those who patrol our inherited kingdom. When we look at myth this way, nobody bothers saying, rape. I mean, don't you want God to want you? Don't you dream of someone with wings taking you up? And when the master comes for our children, he smells like the men who own stables in heaven, that far terrain between promise and apology. No one has to convince us. The people of my country believe we can't be hurt if we can be bought. Riddle, riddle. We do not recognize the body of Emmett Till. We do not know the boy's name nor the sound of his mother wailing. We have never heard a mother wailing. We do not know the history of this nation in ourselves. We do not know the history of ourselves on this planet because we do not have to know what we believe we own. We believe we own your bodies, but have no use for your tears. We destroy the body that refuses use. We use maps we did not draw. We see a sea, so cross it. We see a moon, so land there. We love land so long as we can take it. Shh, we can't take that sound. What is a mother wailing? We do not recognize music until we can sell it. We sell what cannot be bought. We buy silence. Let us help you. How much does it cost to hold your breath underwater? Wait, wait. What are we? What? What on earth are we? What? I'm going to read, let's see. I have a plan over here, but I'm breaking it. I keep breaking the plan. Crossing. The water is one thing, and one thing for miles. The water is one thing, making this bridge built over the water another. Walk it early. Walk it back when the day goes dim. Everyone rising just to find a way toward rest again. We work. Start on one side of the day like a planet's only sun. Our eyes straight until the flame sinks. The flame sinks. Thank God, I'm different. I figured and counted. I'm not crossing to cross back. I'm set on something vast. It reaches long as the sea. I'm more than a conqueror, bigger than bravery. I don't march. I'm the one who leaps. So one of the features of this most recent book, The Tradition, is a form I invented called the duplex, which is at once a hustle, a sonnet, and a blues poem. And I'll read an example of a duplex for you now. Duplex. I begin with love, hoping to end there. I don't want to leave a messy corpse. I don't want to leave a messy corpse full of medicines that turn in the sun. Some of my medicines turn in the sun. Some of us don't need hell to be good. Those who need most need hell to be good. What are the symptoms of your sickness? Here is one symptom of my sickness. Men who love me are men who miss me. Men who leave me are men who miss me in the dream where I am an island. In the dream where I am an island, I grow green with hope. I'd like to end there. And I'm going to I'll finish with just a few love poems because people will have things to say about me if I die, and I would like for them to remember to say that I was a love poet. Like father, my father's embrace is tighter now that he knows he is not the only man in my life. He whispers, "Remember when," and "I love you," as he holds my hand hungry for a discussion of Bible scriptures over breakfast. He pours cups of coffee I can't stop spilling. My father's embrace is firm and warm now that he knows. He begs forgiveness for anything he may have done to make me turn to abomination as he watches my eggs scrambled, soft. Yolk runs all over the plate. A rubber band binds the morning paper. My father's embrace tightens. Grits stiffen. I hug back like a little boy, gripping to prove his handshake. Daddy squeezes me close, but I cannot feel his heartbeat, and he cannot hear mine. There is too much flesh between us, two men in love. Dark. I am sick of your sadness, Jericho Brown. Your blackness, your books. Sick of you laying me down so I forget how sick I am. I'm sick of your good looks, your debates, your concern, your determination to keep your butt plump, the little money you earn. I'm sick of you saying no when yes is as easy as a young man. Bored with you saying yes to every request, though you're as tired as anyone else, yet consumed with a single diagnosis of health. I'm sick of your hurting. I see that you're blue. You may be ugly, but that ain't new. Everyone you know is just as cracked. Everyone you love is as dark, or at least as black. Track 1, Lush Life. The woman with the microphone sings to hurt you, to see you shake your head. The mic may as well be a leather belt. You drive to the center of town to be whipped by a woman's voice. You can't tell the difference between a leather belt and a lover's tongue. A lover's tongue might call you bitch, a term of endearment where you come from, a kind of compliment preceded by the word sing in certain nightclubs. A lush little tongue you have. You can yell, "Sing, bitch," and "I love you" with a shot of Patron at the end of each phrase from the same bar stool every Saturday night. But you can't remember your father's leather belt without shaking your head. That's what satisfies her, the woman with the microphone. She does not mean to entertain you, and neither do I. Speak to me in a lover's tongue. Call me your bitch, and I'll sing the whole night long. So I think there are just two more. This next poem is about cuddling, which is my favorite thing. I like it better than poetry, though I like poetry the most. Cuddling beats poetry all day. It just wins. If I'm in the bed cuddling, the poem will not get written. Stand. Peace on this planet, or guns glowing hot. We lay there together as if we were getting something done. It felt like planting a garden or planning a meal for a people who still need feeding. All that touching or barely touching, not saying much, not adding anything. The cushion of it, the skin and occasional sigh, all seemed like work worth mastering. I'm sure Somebody died while we made love. Somebody killed somebody black. I thought then of holding you as a political act. I may as well have held myself. We didn't stand for one thought, didn't do a damn thing. And though you left me, I'm glad we didn't. Just one last poem. I'll read a duplex. It's the last poem in the book. This is how you know that poetry is the superior genre. Fiction writers can't read you the last page of their book. Anyway, so I'll read you the last poem in the book, which is also this poem is also a duplex. It adds yet another layer of form. I mentioned earlier that the duplex is a hustle, a sonnet, and a blues poem at once. It adds another layer of form as it is also a cento. Usually centos come from poems by other people, and each of, as you know, the cento is made up of lines from various poems. This particular cento is a little different because it's made up of all the lines from the earlier duplexes in the book. So you'll hear an echo of something you heard before. I think I read one duplex to you, so you will hear an echo. Duplex, cento. My last love drove a burgundy car. Color of a rash, a symptom of sickness. We were the symptoms, the road, our sickness. None of our fights ended where they began. None of the beaten end where they began. Any man in love can cause a messy corpse, but I didn't want to leave a messy corpse obliterated in some lilied field. Stench obliterating lilies of the field, the murderer young and unreasonable. He was so young, so unreasonable, steadfast and awful, tall as my father, steadfast and awful. My tall father was my first love. He drove a burgundy car. Thank you.
Jericho, thank you so much. You're such
Thank
an
you,
amazing
Maria.
poet, and I love you.
Thank you. I
And
love you
love
too.
also all the other poets who read today. All of you made me either laugh or cry, and I think that's a pretty good thing for a reading. Thank you to Carrie and Martin and Vivian and Matthew, and thank you, Jericho, as always, for your smile and for your wonderful poems.
Thank you.
Always make me cry. I want to take my scarf and go like this.
Thank you, Maria.
Let's give a round of applause for all the great poets. I'm sorry you can't really hear the clapping. It's too bad that you can't hear it. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful rest of the day. I hope to see you all soon in person. And bye. And let me say one thing. I want to dedicate this reading to Laura Boss, who passed away yesterday and who leaves a big space in my life. And I know a big space in a lot of people's lives. So for myself and so many people who will miss her, I just want to say that she was a great poet, a wonderful editor, a wonderful friend, and a wonderful human being. And it's very sad. And my mother used to say, good people die and bad people stay alive a long time. I don't know what that says about me, but I know that Laura was a very good person. So
Yes.
let's celebrate her in terms of this wonderful reading.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.